Wife of 11 years cheated for over a year. Karma. So let's fast forward. William married Jane when he was 23 and she was 25 years old. They also have a son together. They met on a hiking trip and everything went swimmingly. Jane was a nice lady with a pleasant demeanor. My wife is battling breast cancer and she has been there for her. My wife saw Jane as an elder sister. William never complained about her until approximately a year ago. He recalled Jane being very possessive of her phone and behaving coldly. He told me they hadn't had it in over 6 months. And every time he attempts to initiate closeness, she declines. Even on their wedding anniversary, she arrived at 4 a.m. I knew there were a lot of red flags, so I informed him she was definitely seeing someone. He claimed to have suspected it for a long time, but he refused to accept that possibility. As a result, it continued, as though she had become an uncommon guest to my wife. When I informed my wife about his situation, she promised to help me figure it out in a stealthy manner. Following the covert conversation with my wife, she's seeing a man, but they're platonic and he's a fantastic technician, my wife informed me. My wife and I both saw where this was headed. When I informed William about the scenario, he remarked, "Jane would never do that, I'm sure. She's my girl. She wouldn't do such a stunt." I advised him to employ a private investigator, and we should be okay. So he hired a private investigator. However, he was unable to uncover any suspicious activity. After 3 months, he had just a snapshot to show for it. In the shot, she was holding hands with a man as he walked out of a movie theater. So he phoned me and said he needed to chat. He seemed to be a complete shambles, like a man who has lost everything. He grinned at me and said, "What did I do wrong?" I had a feeling he was suicidal. So me and him went to a pub and drank ourselves silly. And he opened out like that she was not the first person who sprang to mind. She hasn't done any housework in over 3 months and is solely concerned about our son. All she gives me is a kiss on the forehead before and after bed. She expresses that she is either exhausted or needs some space. What should I do? I had a feeling he was bankrupt. I've been telling him that he's not alone and that I'm helping him develop a strong mind. He was backed by our pals' circle and a large number of other males. Over time, he realized she wasn't worth it. So he went outside of marriage and ended up with a lady at work. We work for the same firm, but in separate divisions. They were both digital artists. As a result, Will met Helena. She was a lot younger than he was. He presented her to me and said, "I'm going to have a good time in my life." She was like a model. She looked like a spy from a video game. They had many and seemed to be couples. He was content and didn't give a damn about Jane. Things began to change when Jane sensed him being joyful and feeling distant. So she approached me and asked whether Will was seeing anybody and how he was doing. However, I lied. So she disclosed to her husband on Christmas that she had been having an affair for almost a year. That she understands how valuable their marriage is and how great Will is. Will wiped away his emotions and inquired about the specifics. She said that it was a mistake and that it is now over and that we can be together again. He told her that their relationship was finished and that he needed a divorce, and he requested her to leave. So she went to her mother's home and spent the whole day phoning and texting. Will had created a second account and shifted his cash into it during this period, as well as opening fresh accounts in numerous additional institutions. They took money from the joint account and pocketed half of it for herself. She screamed and begged her husband not to divorce her. Will had moved on at that point. Jane also attempted suicide, and she told Will she'd do anything, and she couldn't function without him, and she'll go to any length. Will didn't even bother to pay her a visit in the hospital. She went to his house after the discharge and told him everything. He said that he required clarity and requests that she begin speaking. There is no second opportunity if she lies. As a result, she informed him that he was a local mechanic. And she was lonely, and she missed her youth and wished she could relive it. So it all started with her vehicle breaking down and meeting him. They exchanged phone numbers. It became Yule after about a month. The romance was a heated and spicy affair. He was curious about where she was on their son's birthday and on their anniversary. She said that she was with him, and she was having when he phoned her for their son's birthday. She told him she was late because she was busy at work. And on her anniversary, she went for a ride with AP and had several that day. She even brought him a place to live. Will was devastated when he heard it and began calling her names from AZ. She apologizes and says she will think about our baby and that we may be his papa and mama again. He said that meeting her was a mistake and that he is tired of her. And she's nothing but dead meat to him. She clutches his legs and begs him not to leave her. She'll do anything, and AP didn't mean anything to her. AP is a 27-year-old man who cheated on Jane and humiliated her the week before Christmas. Will was aware that she was emotionally linked to AP and me. Will accepted her back after countless pleadings and therapy sessions. Not because he loved her, but because he didn't have a choice. Adultery is a divorce fault in our society. But you'll need strong proof to do so. If you can't prove it, you've been FG'd. You'll need substantial evidence to beat her in court. Will, on the other hand, lacked substantial proof. He was always preoccupied with Helena. He, on the other hand, had other intentions. He established ground rules. She didn't have an option but to accept it. Her job included cleaning the home and doing the laundry. She must follow all he says or else she will be fired. She must be available at all times and perform any activities he directs. He should have access to all of her email, phone, and account information, as well as her password. He became distant from her. He sends her out of the room and adds, "This is my bed, you can sleep in the guest bed." And he often arrives home late. He addresses her by her first name and yells and insults her for petty blunders. She quickly discovered Helena's whereabouts and confronted him, to which he replied, "Doors open, you may go if you like." Jane pays frequent visits to my wife and seeks advice on how to salvage her marriage. She provides advice and recommendations. My wife was devastated by her death. Jane informed my wife that she is often rejected and that Will never allows her to sleep in the same bed as her, and one day she dressed up and went to him. But he mocked her and ordered her to grow up. She's a shambles now. I feel sorry for her. Will often tells his girlfriend that his wife is an old cow and that she isn't good as she is. When she discovers that Will is going on a business trip with Helena, she becomes even more harsh. It broke her, and Will informed her he wasn't the one for her. And now they're simply buddies. But I knew where they were. And we were meant to bring our wives to the business party. Jane was looking forward to this, but Will turned her down, saying that we needed to sort things out and that he had gone single and had been with Helena the whole time. Helena was understanding, and the two of them are like a couple. They do everything that a couple does. Will informed Helena that he would leave Jane when their kid reached the age of 18. And he also told me that he treats her with disdain. He does not engage in physical abuse. But if she doesn't clear the table, he'll reply, "Mr. Mechanic would do that." And if she doesn't do anything in the bedroom, he brings up her adultery and guilts her, claiming it's all her responsibility. I'm not sure where this is going. I believe he remained for his son's sake. He is unconcerned about money, but he's now ruthless to Jane. This is how things have been going. Jane seeks refuge from my wife. This is lengthy due of incidences that occurred over a 2-year period. I hope they can both find peace. Story 2. I'm 25 female moving across the country without my boyfriend 23 male. I'm 25F, leaving my partner 23M behind to explore a career opportunity across the nation. I'll be leaving in February 2022. We've been dating for 2.5 years and have previously lived together. We're now living at our respective parents' houses to save money, and he'll sleep over on weekends. I'm simply moving for job experience and will most likely return in a few years. We spoke about our future plans, and he said he's not scared since if he gets into a neighboring university, he may be able to come live with me, although it'll still be at least a year before he comes out. We both want to marry and create a family, but we're still young in our jobs and in general. So this time apart will be beneficial for us to develop as people before we settle down. What should we do to be ready for a long-distance relationship? What kinds of discussions should we conduct ahead of time? What are some of the dangers we should avoid? Any suggestions would be much appreciated.